At my sister's baby shower, my mom laughed. "Julie is expecting her first baby, and you're still not married." I didn't say anything. Then a man with a child entered the house. "I'm looking for Michelle." "I'm her husband." Silence. Hey, Reddit. Before we dive in, I've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is the best way to support us. It's quick, free, and it truly helps grow this amazing community. Let's start the story. I'm 29F and the black sheep of my family, or at least that's the role they shoved me into. My sister Julia is 27, the golden child, the glowing mother-to-be, and as far as my mom is concerned, the beacon of womanhood. Julia got engaged at 24, married at 25, and now pregnant with her first child. She's become the family trophy. Me. I focused on my career. I travel a lot for work, freelance, and design, and I've been in one serious relationship that ended when I was 27. Since then, I've been single but not unhappy until my family decides I should be. When Julia announced her pregnancy, my mom burst into tears. Not quiet, emotional ones. No. Loud, joyful sobs like Julia had just handed her a Nobel Prize. Dad smiled warmly and gave her a congratulatory hug. I joined in, truly happy for my sister, but the moment was already tainted. I knew what was coming. I just didn't know how deep it would cut. Fast forward to the baby shower. It was at my parents' house, decorated like Pinterest exploded in their living room. Pink and gold everything, diaper cakes, balloons spelling out it's a girl, and more tiny cupcakes than one could eat in a lifetime. Everyone was buzzing, chatting, hugging Julia, asking her how far along she was, what name she was considering if she was planning a natural birth. You'd think she was royalty. I was content to help refill drinks and keep things running smoothly in the background. I didn't mind not being the center of attention until my mom made sure to drag me into the spotlight in the worst way possible. I was carrying a tray of deviled eggs back to the kitchen when Mom, standing right in the center of the room with a glass of punch in hand, called out in that too loud, too fake cheerful tone she uses when she's about to humiliate someone. "Isn't it just lovely? Julia is expecting her first baby, and you're still not married." Everyone laughed. Not politely, not awkwardly. Full-on belly laughed, like she told the best joke ever. I froze mid-step. The tray in my hands felt like it weighed 50 pounds. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to cause a scene. I just walked past her, my face burning, and quietly put the tray on the table. My chest felt tight. My eyes stung, but I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me cry. I started thinking about leaving, about calling a ride and heading back to my apartment, but something made me stay. Maybe pride. Maybe hope that it wouldn't get worse. Maybe I wanted to prove to myself that I could survive their little jabs without folding. And then the doorbell rang. Julia was in the middle of opening a gift, a deluxe diaper bag, and Mom was cooing over how stylish it was. No one moved to answer the door, so I did. I opened it to find a man standing there. He looked to be in his mid-30s, wearing jeans and a navy shirt, holding the hand of a little girl who looked about 4 years old. The girl clutched a stuffed unicorn and stared up at me. The man cleared his throat. "I'm looking for Michelle," he said. "I'm her husband." For a second, I thought he had the wrong house. "My name is Michelle, but I've never seen this man in my life." I was about to tell him he must be mistaken when he stepped inside like he was expected. His eyes scanned the room and landed on someone. "There you are," he said, walking straight past me. Everyone had turned to look. The room had gone quiet. He stopped in front of Julia. "What the hell are you doing here?" he asked her. His voice wasn't angry, just confused. Tired. I looked at Julia. Her face had gone pale. Her hands trembled as she put down the diaper bag. My mother stepped in, voice sharp. "Excuse me. Who are you?" The man blinked. "I'm Michelle's husband," he repeated, but now his eyes were locked on Julia. And the way he said Michelle, it wasn't me he was talking about. It was her. Julia's middle name is Michelle. Only a few people use it. Apparently, this man was one of them. Julia didn't say anything. Her mouth opened, then closed. The little girl clung to his leg, peering around at the stunned women holding pink-themed cupcakes. I didn't understand what was happening. Was this some kind of sick prank? Mom looked between them, eyes narrowing. This is Julia, she said slowly. Michelle is her middle name. The man's expression changed. His jaw tightened. The tiredness in his eyes turned to something else, betrayal. Wait. You're pregnant. The words dropped like a bomb. I felt the ripple of shock move through the room. Julia put a hand to her stomach instinctively. You told me you were going to your aunt's for the weekend. You said you needed space, that you were sorting things out. That was a week ago. Now, he was raising his voice. You have a baby shower? And you didn't tell me. The little girl tugged his shirt. Daddy. He placed a hand on her head, trying to soothe her, but he looked like he was unraveling. Mom stepped between them, but it was too late. Everyone was watching. The air was thick with tension. Julia finally found her voice. You weren't supposed to find me here. The words barely escaped her lips, but they were enough. My father stood up from the couch, his face blank. Julia, what is going on? She looked down, tears streaming. I never told you because I didn't know how. He's not the father. The men stepped back. He looked like she'd punched him. So you're married to me. You left our daughter with me for a week, and you're pregnant with someone else's baby. No one moved. The baby shower decoration seemed absurd now, mocking even. I watched my mother's face contort from confusion to horror, and for once, the spotlight was off me. The man turned toward the door, picking up his daughter. Don't worry. You won't see either of us again. He walked out, slamming the door behind him. And in that moment, the silence was deafening. No one said a word for a long time. The door had barely stopped vibrating from the slam when the guests, most of them extended family and Julia's friends, began quietly collecting their purses, whispering polite excuses as they shuffled out. The atmosphere had turned from joyful celebration to emotional wreckage in under 5 minutes. The baby shower had become a scandal, and no amount of pink decorations or sweet punch could cover it up. I stood in the hallway frozen. I hadn't moved since opening the door. I kept going over his words. I'm Michelle's husband, and the way Julia had withered under his gaze. Our mom looked dazed, like she couldn't quite piece it together. My dad, on the other hand, looked like stone. He sat back down, his jaw clenched, arms crossed. His disappointment was like a shadow that stretched across the whole room. Julia slumped into a chair, her hands shaking as she wiped away tears. But there was no comfort for her. Not this time. Mom finally broke the silence. Julia, is that true? She nodded. A small, pathetic nod. Then came the rest of it, unraveling like string pulled from a sweater. She had met him 3 years ago. He was separated at the time, trying to rebuild his life as a single dad. They had an affair while he was still married. When his divorce finalized, she moved in with him. They got married a year ago, secretly without telling anyone, not even our parents. But somewhere along the way, Julia got bored. She told herself she wanted more, someone younger, someone who wasn't weighed down with a kid. She started seeing someone else behind his back. That man, the new one, was the father of her unborn child. Mom sat down slowly like the weight of her daughter's betrayal had sapped the strength from her legs. And the baby shower? It was supposed to be the perfect distraction, a celebration where she could keep pretending she had it all together, pretending the lie hadn't unraveled. I didn't say anything through the whole thing. I just watched. I watched as the pedestal Mom had built for Julia crumbled. I watched as Dad quietly left the room without a word. And I watched as Julia finally broke, burying her face in her hands, sobbing, not just from guilt, but because the fantasy she built had just detonated in front of everyone. Mom turned toward me, her voice hoarse. Why didn't you say anything? I blinked. Say anything? I didn't even know she was married. You could have warned us. Stop this, I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd it felt like the only thing I could do. You're blaming me. You humiliated me in front of everyone 20 minutes ago for not being married, and now you want to know why I didn't expose her. She looked away. That silence was the first honest thing she'd given me in years. I left after that. I didn't wait for Julia to apologize because she wouldn't, not then. Not when the shame was still fresh and she hadn't figured out how to spin it into a sob story that would make her the victim again. I thought that would be the end of it, but of course, it wasn't. 3 days later, my phone rang. It was Dad. Can we meet for coffee? He'd never said that to me before. When I got to the cafe, he was already there, staring into a half-drunk cup of black coffee. He didn't waste time. I owe you an apology. I said nothing. I let him talk. We failed you. Your mother and I, we pushed you to be something you weren't ready to be. And worse, we made Julia into something she never deserved to be. The golden child. Perfect daughter, untouchable. We gave her no room to fail, and now she's collapsing under the weight of it. I didn't know what to say. I didn't expect that level of honesty. You've always made your own path, he continued, and I didn't respect that, but I do now. It didn't erase the years of being dismissed or mocked, but it mattered. It felt like a fracture beginning to heal. Julia moved back in with Mom a week later. She claimed she needed emotional support, but I suspected it was because the men she cheated on couldn't bear to look at her. I later heard through the grapevine that he filed for divorce immediately, took full custody of their daughter, and moved out of state. He wanted nothing to do with her. As for Mom, she tried to pretend everything was normal, but she was quieter now. The judgmental jabs, the snide remarks, those stopped, at least around me. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe she realized the child she spent a lifetime putting on a pedestal had fallen harder than anyone thought possible. Then one afternoon, I got a knock at my door. It was Julia. She looked tired, smaller somehow, like the weight of her decisions had finally caught up to her. Can we talk? I didn't slam the door in her face. I could have, but I let her in. She sat on my couch like a guest in a stranger's home. I messed everything up. Yeah. You did. She nodded. I didn't mean to. Everything was happening so fast and I felt trapped in Julia. She stopped. Stop explaining. Just say what you came to say. She swallowed hard. I'm sorry. I was horrible to you for years. And that day, I let Mom mock you. I laughed too. I thought it made me feel better, but it didn't. I believed her. For once, her apology wasn't soaked in excuses. I forgive you, I said. But that doesn't mean I forget. I know. We sat in silence after that. Not awkward silence, just a mutual pause. Like, we both needed to sit with everything that had happened, to accept it, to let it settle. Julia moved out of Mom's house later that month. She started therapy, got a job. She's still pregnant, still figuring things out, and we're not close, but we're civil. And me, I kept doing what I do best, living on my own terms. I don't need a husband to feel complete. I don't need a child to earn my family's respect, and I don't need anyone's permission to be proud of the life I've built. But I did keep one thing from the baby shower. When everyone was leaving and the decorations were being pulled down, someone had left a little cupcake behind on the kitchen counter. Pink frosting, glitter sprinkles, a tiny edible bow. I took it home, not as a souvenir of disaster, but as a reminder. That day, I didn't break. I didn't run. And when the truth finally came knocking at our door, it wasn't for me. It was for her. And just like that, the baby shower that started with judgment ended with truth, silence, and the kind of closure no one saw coming.